Hi, I'm Natalie. I thought I would just share a couple things that I learned while traveling to the Amalfi Coast and hopefully can be a benefit to you guys. We were in Italy for the summer and we were able to learn a lot from our experience and received a lot of helpful tips from other locals as well. So I decided that I would make a video to hopefully help you guys if you guys happen to be in the area or if you're planning for your next adventure. We arrived to the Amalfi Coast from Naples, and the drive to the Amalfi Coast was absolutely breathtaking and beautiful. It's a lot different from northern Italy. Once you get to southern Italy, you see the beautiful landscape and it's very rural and naturey. However, there are a couple things that you should know if you do plan on making a trip to the Amalfi Coast. Now, the first thing is transportation. This was something that I was very stressed about while planning the trip to the Amalfi Coast. And while being there, I can now say I do not recommend renting a car. Not only is it very expensive, but driving around the Amalfi Coast can be very stressful. The roads there are very narrow, tight, and if you are walking to your next destination, just keep in mind that you will be sharing the road with other pedestrians, buses, motorcycles, and cars. And there are no sidewalks. So just be prepared. Now, to get to the Amalfi Coast, there are a few options. I recommend checking Google Maps to see the best route to get to the Amalfi Coast. I found this to be tremendously helpful just to navigate all of Italy. Google Maps knows what they're doing and it's up to date, and I found gives you the best way to get to point A to point B. You can be certain that the train schedule or the bus schedule is up to date. One of the ways that you can get to the Amalfi Coast is through private transfers. This is the best way to get to the Amalfi Coast if you are a large group with a lot of luggage. Now, keep in mind that this is very expensive, but it's not as expensive as renting a car. There are also various taxis that can help you to get from Naples to the Amalfi Coast. This is the route that we took, and roughly it is around €3 per kilometer. Obviously, it does change depending on your taxi driver. Now, the taxi drivers there do drive a little crazy, but it is a cheaper option to get to the Amalfi Coast. And one tip that I do suggest for you guys is to ask your taxi drivers before getting into the taxi how much it's going to cost, or give you a rough estimate of how much it's going to cost. Because sometimes they do take advantage, especially if you're an American traveling to Italy. They find it the perfect opportunity for them to upcharge. Another way to get there that is very affordable is through bus. Just keep in mind it does take a little longer to get to the Amalfi Coast, but if it's a sacrifice you're willing to make, then this is the perfect option for you. And you're going to be carrying your luggage around as well, keep that. And last but not least, there's also a train that can take you directly to Sorrento or to Salerno. So if you want to start on the opposite side of the coast, the train is a great option to take. Now, another thing to keep in mind is how you're going to get around the Amalfi Coast. There are several ferries and CETA buses that can take you from city to city in the Amalfi Coast. We specifically use the CETA buses, which can roughly cost around €1 to €3. So this is a very affordable option. The only thing is the CETA buses are not very reliable, especially in the summer months. Don't expect the bus to arrive there on time or there to be enough space for you and your group. That's the one downside of southern Italy, is the transportation is not as reliable. Another way to explore different cities is to rent a scooter or your Vespa. And this roughly costs around €60. It's a great experience and I definitely recommend you guys try. There are also local buses that are €1. It is very common to purchase these tickets directly from the bus driver. There are also some apps that you guys can download and use to find local transportation within southern Italy. I have an article that covers all this information and what websites we used or that were recommended from locals, and I have included it down below. Now, the second point I did want to cover is cost. Southern Italy is filled with vibrant colored buildings and many cobblestone streets. Depending on which town you are staying at, most of the small towns only accept cash. So make sure to bring some cash with you before arriving to the Amalfi Coast. Make sure to bring enough cash to be able to pay for groceries, taxis, or public transportation. While the Amalfi Coast is absolutely stunning and breathtaking, it is also one of the most expensive summer destinations in Europe. An average plate there costs around 15 to 25 euros. An average glass of wine costs 6 to 9 euros. And the average hotel or Airbnb price is around 150 euros a night. And of course, you can always splurge a little on your hotels or Airbnbs, and you can find great luxury options. With all these high prices, I definitely recommend coming in May or September to save a little on peak season prices. The third thing I did want to cover is places to stay. During our time in the Amalfi Coast, we made the mistake of booking an Airbnb in Mexico. While the place was absolutely beautiful and the host was very friendly, we did not have a car and were relying on public transportation to take us from place to place. And the transportation in these smaller towns are not as reliable as these larger cities. So we learned that it's best to look for hotels in better known cities in southern Italy. If you plan on visiting the Amalfi Coast, we suggest staying at these places: Sorrento, Positano, Amalfi. And if you want cheaper options, we found that places like Bianio and San Lazzaro offer great groceries, shops, ATMs, and decent public transportation. Well, these were just a couple tips that I wanted to share with you guys for your next trip to the Amalfi Coast. But if you guys do have any other suggestions or tips, you guys can always feel free to leave them down below. That way we can all benefit and better prepare for our next trip to the Amalfi Coast. Well, I hope you guys have a great and amazing day, and hopefully see you guys soon. Take care.